most of it is pretty much, most of bereishis is pretty much hidden and very unclear and so on and so forth. But Klal Gadlus, whatever it does say in Chumash, it is something that we need to learn. We have to try to be oimen on certain things. The first thing is there's a Chazal about, in two places Chazal use a very similar mashal. And hard to understand the safe pasuk of the mashal, what exactly mechaven to. The Gemara Chagiga says a person can't talk about, a person should not be chayker and deirish in lamala, lamata. There's certain areas outside the realm of what's permissible to be chayker and deirish. So it says that one of them is that da ma lefanim, that you can't be oisik in what's there lefanim, before what was. So the Gemara asks, what do I care? What was. It doesn't seem to be anything unusual. It doesn't seem to be anything wrong. So the Gemara says, Mashal lemelech that built a paltrin on ashpatos, a king built a palace on a garbage dump. So he doesn't want people to say, this is the garbage dump that the Melech built his palace on. So when a developer has made a very, very ritzy apartment, a ritzy complex on top of a landfill, he doesn't like to call this place, garbage head. He calls it whatever he calls it. The same thing, if you look at Lefanim, we're going to be oimid on an ashpatos, and that's not kvoid koinai. That's the Lashon of Chazal in Chagiga. Lashon Chazal in Medrash says, kvoid melachim, kvoid Elokim hastadava, kvoid melachim chakordava, that the kvoid of Elokim is hastadava, that we should hide what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what Elokim did is kvoid Elokim hastadava, and it says it's going on the whole first parasha bereishis, that kvoid Elokim hastadava. So Chazal say also a mashal of a melech that built a palace on ashpatos, we say kvoid Elokim hastadava. What is the ashpatos we're talking about? In other words, there's something that's wrong about bereishis. Something that is not beseder about bereishis is that it was built on ashpatos. And it's a dava hard to understand what it is referring to exactly, the ashpatos. What's that kilu hidden secret that something is not beseder and so on and so forth. That's a shaila that we need to evaluate. It's a lashon to Gemara, it's a lashon Chazal over here. It does belong to us in the realm of what's learnable, what we should at least have some avanas on tfisin. There's a second inyan that you have if you take a look in a few places, you have politics between malachim and Adam. In other words, there seems to be some sort of rivalry between malachim and Adam. L'mashal, it says over here, when you want to create Adam, so it says ma enosh kisis kerenu, that Adam is, the malachim had a category on people, that people should not be created because Adam kisis kerenu. So it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took them and asked them to name all the animals. They couldn't do it. So he said, you see that chachmasa is meruba chachmaschem. So there's a tug of war here. It's not stam that there was a shaila. It's not the pshat ki'ilu, the malachim are part of the board of directors and they're deciding whether to create Adam or not. But rather, it's a contest between them and Adam. They taina that Adam should not be created. He has chisronos. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you can't give a name to the animals, so you see, he's got some milos over you, and we're going to take him. So there's a built-in tug-of-war contest between Malachim versus Adam. It's not Bezdin Shal Mala deciding about Adam, which is the normal way in Pshat, but it's, okay, will it be Malachim or will it be Adam? And Malachim have a strong taina. Adam is a very, very weak bria, and he's got a lot of chesronis. Like Kosh Baruch Hu says, but he's got one mile. He knows how to give names to animals. What's the teichin? What's the teichin of the tug of war between Malachim and Adam? and then the Kadosh Baruch Hu's deciding on the basis of the fact that he give names to animals. If I say Adam is a cheshva bria than malachim, on the davahu. You also have the same vikuach about giving Torah. So it says, Alisa Amorim Shavisa Shevi, that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemayim and he conquered something. So it says, what did he conquer? He conquered the Torah. And same thing, a vikuach between Malachim and Adam and Moshe, which represents Adam in that case. The Malachim say that Tno Hoitchal Shemayim. I mean, Torah belongs to Shemayim. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, or Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's different Chazal, different nation. He says, let me ask you, take a look in the Torah. It says, the Torah said, Azav. Do you have Ziva? Do you have Nida by Malachim? You don't have Ziva, you don't have Nida, you don't have Tumah. So, it belongs to Adam. I have and what about Achilas Matzah, Netilas Lulav, and Shofar? I mean, you don't have any of it by Malachim. I mean, why Dafka? They picked two or three very, very strange things. Ziva, Nida, yes, these are part of the mitzvahs. But Chazal would teifis a certain nekuda to bring out something. Why Ziva, Nida of all the things? Nothing in Torah shaykh to Malachim. Malachim are shaykh to zero. They can't eat matzah, they can't put on film, they can't do any of the mitzvahs. So what's the why be teifis of Dafka's Ziva, Nida? That is the same thing. You see a kitrig in terms of Matan Torah. You see a tug of war. Who should get it, and so on. The Zohar Kodesh, he brings it into Tikkun Zohar. He says naaseh Adam. Now, also by the way, the Maimah Chazal that HaKadosh Baruch Hu consulted Malachim. And he said, naaseh Adam, it says, Melamid derech eretz, that a chashav should consult a hedyot. It's also, one understands it because Malachim had to agree to Adam. In other words, it was part of the tug of war between Malach and Adam. It says, naaseh Adam, Be'ina Adam de Yavit Bikudei Raisa. We want that, I want that Adam who will do mitzvahs, V'ishtadl bereishis lovdol shamra, and work at keeping Torah. V'yohev le'agra tava, and I will give him a lot of schar. V'shultanai alaychu, and he will be shaylet on you. In other words, the job of the malachim will be to be shaylet on. The job of Adam will be to be shaylet on malachim. So the first thing is, you see, in naaseh Adam, it's not just that he'll make Adam, but Adam is going to be shaylet on the malach. And then he says, the Zohar Kodesh is mamshach there, the homalochi iloi, these malachim, afagav the inu giboyer koyachoi sedvaroi, they do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ratzon without any problems. Loi of the gvura bepulchani de kutrabichu. There's no gvura being accomplished in their avodah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The inun palchen bechreach, they worship balkarcham, meaning they have no yitzhahara. V'leslon iruva dbisra v'yitzabisha. They don't have any mixture of flesh and yitzhahara. Ubeginda naaseh Adam yishabechoy. That's why I'm going to make Adam shalt new. Kloima. Hamalachim muchrachim amas Hashem loischachshans etzam dava. So Lemaisa, he's saying over here, the Zohar Kodesh is saying, the Tikkun Zohar is saying that you have a difference between the reason why Adam is going to be shaylet on the malachim is going to be because Adam has a yitzhahara and iruva dbisra and a tarevis of basar. In other words, what we would call the Eitz Hadas Toifera kind of built into Adam, and that's why Adam is superior and he's going to be moilech on you. We understand that it's chashav to have Adam because Adam has yitzhahara and he gets schar and so on and so forth. But why is the shultan of Adam Musar? Because he has the yitzhahara also. We're talking about who should boss whom, who should be on top of whom in the Seder Abriya. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the Malachim, since you don't have a Yetzer Hara and a mixture of body and neshama. Therefore, Adam is going to be one that's going to be sholet on you. I can understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would say it's important to have Adam in the Bria because Adam has to struggle and Adam creates and Adam gets schar and so on and so forth. He's saying a different knech. He's saying here it's the struggle of Malachim versus Adam. Who is, quote unquote, on top of whom? Who is Moishel on whom? What's this Nekuda being Moishel and Moilech, one on top of the other? And because Adam has a iruva dbisra, that's why he's the one that should be shaylet. That is a Nekuda that we need to be aimed on. So let's be misamek a little bit Nisinian over here. There are two Nekudas that we need to be aimed on in Chazal's Zustel and so on and so forth. The first thing is the first question is what's the tachlis of the Bria in its klolius? If the let's give an example. Let's say the tachlis of teaching a group of people is to be oimed on the one that is, like it says, the Moshe Chazal give Elav Nechasin the Medrash Echad Yoytze Lohira. In other words, you're teaching a class to bring out the 1 in 1,000 that's going to be the Yoytze Lohira. So the Rebbe you want for that class is the biggest Talmid Chacham. The fact that the biggest Talmid Chacham could only relate to that one that's Yoytze Lohira is adrab. It's kol l'toiv. I make a place that has extremely high standards, no room for error. So I'm going to be left with the one individual who can be omeid on all of those nekudas. That is one mahalach in the Bria. The mahalach of the that's one mahalach in a relationship that I'm looking to bring out the very best, and therefore the mashpia, the koach hashpa, is going to be the best. That's the one tchun I need is it should be the best. So if I want to teach a math class of hundreds of students and I want to bring out the best mathematician, then the criteria for the teacher will be the best mathematician I could possibly bring, and fine, that's it. If the tachlis is to bring out a havana in everybody, so now I'm going to have another criteria. I need somebody that knows the math is going to teach, but also that understands what it means to not understand the math. Someone who's brilliant, and everything came to him in a snap. So he has no way of understanding what it means to look at the equations and just stare blankly at the wall and with uncomprehending. Because I know I'm telling you right away what it means. So what I'm going to want in terms of a pedagogue, in terms of a mashpia, someone that obviously knows what I want to get to, but he also needs to understand the learning process of the people getting there. I need to have someone that's a mechanech, which means he dehers the other person, and usually that means somebody who himself went through that same process. Someone himself needs to learn 20 times a piece of Gemara before he has it down, will understand why after 3 times learning it, the person sitting across from him doesn't have it down yet. So we have two mahalchim in applying something, in being mashpia something. We have one mahalach where I'm looking for the kernel of a matching. So I'm looking for the 1 in 1,000 that's exactly like the mashpia, and the hashpa brings out that 1 in 1,000. That's one way of doing it. The second way is I look to bring out some of that nekuda in every single person that I'm being mashpia on. Every person has a different mixture of kochas, and one person understands a little bit, one understands a little more, one can understand still more. I need each one to bring out that nekuda. That is those are two mahalchim that split off at the shirish, and they have many nafgaminas afterwards. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he created the Bria, created two possible shroshim, or what appears to us two possible shroshim. He created perfect brias of the tachlis he wants. He created chesed, the abstract musig of chesed, the malach of chesed, and that is chesed in its purity. And he created gevura in its purity, and that's called Gavriel, and so on. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created every nekuda that he wanted in the Bria in its perfect form, and that's called Malachim. The tzura of the Bria, that's a personification of different nekudas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in perfection, those are called Malachim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam. Adam is a mixture of like a malach, like koach, mixed together with problems. Now, we could look at it in two ways. The shitchiistic staklus is that Adam is an also run. You know, malachim are the perfect person. Adam is a mixture of it. He's chesed plus some achzorius and a little shlackiness and a little apathy and so on and so forth. That's what Adam is. So if we put the two tsuris next to each other, the tsuris are Adam is okay, Malach is perfect, and therefore the Malach should be shaylet on Adam. In other words, if I to arrange the shultanai means and here we come to the second nekuda. The shultan, who's shaylet and who means who's the active agent and who's the reactive agent. The melech is the active agent in a society. The melech says, okay, we're going to Milchama. Everybody picks up his sword, a spear, whatever it is that he has to do, and he follows along. The melech says, we're going to build a highway. So everybody follows along, does what he does. The melech is the point that is the active element. He's the one who changes things, and everything else follows along. So l'chura, malachim are perfection. They go first. This is chesed in its pure brightness, and Adam marches along afterwards. Adam is some chesed, okay chesed, tries to do better, and so on and so forth. That's a shallow version of the Bria. But if you look deeply into the Bria, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's tachlis in the Bria was for tachtainim dafka. There's an undercurrent. If a person, I always have this hagasha when I say Amitz Koyach on Yom Kippur by Avodah. The Nusach of Ashkenaz is very, very beautiful. It's interesting. Nusach Sfarad that Chassidim say it's a very straightforward prose type of elaboration about the Avodah, and that's that. The Nusach Ashkenaz one is very powerfully, it's very magisterial. There's something about it, very, very beautiful. And it starts out with the Bria Soilam. Amitz Koyach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the very beginning, when it was all Cheshech, he took Kerach, and so on and so forth. And you read, a paragraph of pristine Bria, and right away you have Adam with the Chet, and Cain with the Chet, and Noach with the Chet, and it's like, whoa, there's one paragraph of pristine purity where the Bria is just pure and godliness, and a paragraph later you sunk deep into Chet, Doyer after Doyer after Doyer, till finally Kohen Gadol comes along as Mechapa. And it seems almost, if anyone, learning Chumash, it's hard to shake off the feeling that the world is built almost as if the Chet was inevitable. That's almost what it seems like. Chazal will megala to us. It says HaKadosh Baruch Hu he built worlds and destroyed them. until he came to the world that we have, and he said, Deina Hanili, this is the world I would like. And in the Chochmas HaPnim, there's a big Torah, there's a lot about all of these Havamina worlds, all of these Churbanos that existed before the world came into being, so that if Aliba de Emes, our world, the shirish of the world that we have is not pristine, but it's built on the wreckage of a lot of different inyanim beforehand. Whether we understand exactly what they are, don't understand, but very clear, a big topic in the world of Pnim is all of these inyanim that fell apart and left shards of good and bad in their wake. Things that were misa and things that were good. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu built the world, not as the world of, it didn't start to the point of purity, it started with a world that was co-joined, Churban and Binyan. And I want to be oimer on the oimik of that nekuda. The tachlis of the Bria was, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted an oilam b'tachtoinim. He wanted a measure b'tachtoinim. Let's picture it in words that we can, in a way that we can grasp what that means. Sometimes you deal with a person who's naturally very spiritual, very religious, very refined. That's his Metzias. And he's a tzaddik, he's a kaddish, there's a certain aura about him, of kedusha, of toiv, of purity, and so on. And that has a certain tzura to it. You sometimes have somebody who's a coarse person, full of taivas, full of averis, full of whatever it is. And the person gets a burst of inspiration, realization. He went through something very difficult, and he comes up with a realization of emes, and there's a certain ha'ara on that person of the herring tov or emes or ruchnias. That's called tachtoinim. In other words, for the more the base is a spiritually refined entity, the less it's tachtoinim. It's similar. You take a malach, you take a person who has no appetite for food, no interest in flesh, in Yetzer Hara, just very, very ruchnistic. That's an elyon type of person, and he has a natural affinity for ruchnias. So that ruchnias does not share on tachtoinim really. But in somebody who's as coarse as they come, and as venal as they come, and you see an enlightenment, that's the pshat within tachtoinim, you see a revelation. It's not possible to affect tachtoinim unless you're of the same. Just like the mechanech and the mashpia, who himself is kulei ruchnias, has no way of affecting somebody who's a more physical, coarse, material person. I don't have the kalim for it. The same thing, malachim are perfection. That's the metzias. They're elyonim. They set a certain standard of what chesed looks like, what gvur looks like, and so on. But there's no hashpah from them on the bria whatsoever. They're not mashpiyim. Adam is half and half. He can be mashpiyah and tachtonim as well. And that's the difference between these two nivroim, between the nivroim malachim and the nivroim Adam. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu's tachlis in the bria was elyonim, malach would be there. If it's tachlis tachtonim, Adam is superior. That's the pshat in Chazal over here. The world was built on ashpatos. It was built on churbanos of all sorts of ra, chosher al pnei tehom, toyu vo'u v'chosher al pnei tehom. The world, before there was even a Yehi Or, there was Malchus Bavel, and Malchus Yovan, and Malchus Paras, and Malchus Raimi. They existed first. In other words, it was the world, what makes the world Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to, is the ashpatos. That's why he wanted to put a world down. In that world, he put down Adam, and he put down Malachim. Adam is an iruva of basar and ruach. It's a mixture of the two, meaning that he's of that. And that's why when the malachim came, and the malachim contested, and they said, Rebbeinu Shalom, Adam is not such a great guy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought out all the animals, and he was able to give a name to all the animals. The Malachim couldn't. So, the Teretz says, Malachim, the name that the animals were given are kol kulei within the framework of this world. Malachim have no shaykhs to it. The Malachim only deal with Al-Yainim. So a sus, or a chamoyer, or a kelev, those are all this world. Adam has that chelik also. Adam could inherit the kelev as the kelev, the sus as the sus, the chamor as the chamor, because he has that chelik. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to put a stamp on Tachtoinim, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to affect Tachtoinim, it's not going to be through Malachim, because Malachim don't inherit Tachtoinim. It's only going to be through Adam. That's why, to show them up, to show up the Malachim, the difference between the two, that's where he showed them up, in the fact that he could give a name to all these inyanim. He reflected it in the iruva, the dbisra, the fact that it's a tarevis a two. Adam contains itself this, and therefore for the purpose that I need to have, he is superior. Let's say you want to send a spy to another country. So I can take the most brilliant, sharpest person I have, but he never lived in that country, doesn't really speak the language, and he can't fake that he's part of that country. So he's worthless as a spy. I want to take somebody who can blend in over there as if he's one of them, and yet has in himself the goals and abilities that I gave, even if they're less than the other person. The same thing by Matan Torah. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to show the Malachim that they're not shaykh to Torah, they deliberately took the bottom end of Torah, so to speak. Nida, Zavus, all of those inyanim that deal with the tachtoinendike aspect of this world. Not with matzah and sheif and lulav. That's not shaykh to you. Torah has to include in itself the way to deal with ziva and with nida and with all those inyanim. And if you can't deal with it, then you're not shaykh to it. I want to bring it back to ourselves, where it is very nagea. It's nagea in two ways. First of all, it's nagea in a person's own mitzias, and it's again is yachas to others. Before I speak of that, I want to bring one more nekuda, explain one more nekuda b'nagea, this inyan over here of Tov and Ra together. We explained that to be a mashpia on that chelik, you need to be of that. There's also one more element that makes it, that makes the Adam the Melech because of it. And that's what the Zohar explained, that's bechreach versus not bechreach. The only time when a rock, our tfisa of the Bria today is that which was in motion and stays in motion is not exerting any effort. Things tend to stay the way they are. Status quo is not any effort, even if something is speeding by at 100,000 miles an hour. If that's the way it was, there's no effort exerted in having it that way. Action, the word active is when there is change. Malachim are tov betzim, and therefore the word change is not shaykh to it. It's hechreach. So they can't be, the word shultanai and malchus cannot be ascribed to malachim, because be'etzim there's no proactive element of it. That's what he's doing because that's what he is, and that's what he has been doing, that's what he does, and that's what he will do. The only time that we can ascribe some sort of maisa in an independent sense, is when neither of the two ifanim are mukhrach. If I can coast, if I'm on a highway and I just put down on cruise control and I sit back, that's not active. If I come to a fork in the road and I need to go this way or that way, that becomes an active maisa. Malachim are what they are. They're gibar koach, but that's what they do. That's what they are. It's not a maisa. Adam is a machriya. Adam has to choose between. So the reshus nesuna to Adam is a pchina of malchus that doesn't exist, a pchina of melech that doesn't exist in malachim. Adam in his own mitzias is doing something when he pushes one way or the other way. A malach, no matter how well he pushes, no matter how good, that's not called a maisa. So we have two inyanim built into the koyach of bechira, and more than the koyach of bechira means the koyach of ra within a person as well. One is to be mashpia. The task of the bria is to put a stamp on tachtoinim. That's only shaykh in so much as you have that in you. And shultanai expresses itself, malchus expresses itself in the ability to be machriya and to do something. Doing something when we're talking about the essential description of action is only when there's two tzadim and you chose one over the other. You pulled in one direction as opposed to the other direction when both directions were equally available at the fork in the road. When we tend to look at ourselves klapi our own kochos hanefesh, and ourselves klapi others, there are always people that seem quite perfect. They seem to be doing the right thing. This person learns just naturally, non-stop. Everything just goes, his mind never seems to wander, he never seems to have anything else to do, just sitting and learning all the time. And we look at ourselves, in as much as we're not like that, and our learning, it comes with it's way down with a lot of things, and we feel kind of down about it. It becomes very discouraging, because you just measure what perfect learning is like, and our learning is like. So certainly, a person needs to strive to make it as good as he can. Something with davening, something with everything. But a person needs to understand that the tachlis of the bria is realized in the person struggling. We look at ourselves and say, okay, I'm a great learner, let's say. I'm an okay davener, I'm so-so in mitzvahs, so my accomplishment is the Torah I'm learning, and the davening, I guess I'm just going to have to leave go of it. That's not my area, it's not my field. It's the other way around. What the tachlis of a person is in those areas that he has a struggle. Because two things. First of all, that's where he's active. For the person who's a natural learner, yes, everyone has it's a hard to have to learn, but he's natural. It goes naturally for him. Just sits down and he enjoys the svaras and the back and forth, and he's just that's his nature. That's not as much active force. That's not shultan as much as if he has it's hard to do X, Y, Z, and he pushed himself and did what he could. Even if he doesn't accomplish in absolute terms as far as the things that went easy for him, but that's a real accomplishment. That's where the person has it. Secondly, every person puts a stamp on the physical bria, on the churbanis in the bria, on the parts that are physical. In our own self, we change our physical side when we struggle with the sides that are the more physical sides and further away from Gashmias. Even in terms of being mashpia on a second person, when I look at the person sitting next to me, and that person is he's a brilliant genius, naturally born learner, and he's sitting and learning on Valayla, I say, wow, it's not mashpia on me all that much. But if I see somebody that's not exactly him, but he pushes and struggles and does it, it makes hashpah on me. It says, it's like Rabbi Akiva said, if water can break through a rock, then Torah can break through me. And if he wouldn't have seen water break through a rock, he never would be able to understand it can happen to me also. If I see somebody that does it, he's like me. He's not very different than me. So if he can do it, I should be able to do it. In every area that a person has within himself the iruva, the dbisra, the tyrevis of Ra and Toiv, the tyrevis of physicality and that's the place we go to mashpia on others more than any other place. It's because you learn from something that's like you, not from something that's above you. I don't have an inferiority complex from a malach, that he's a kaddish. Malach is a kaddish because a malach is a kaddish. But somebody like me, who has flesh and blood, a yetzer hara, and everything, and yet he disciplines himself, and he's keeping himself stands as a kedusha, it's mashpia on me because I should be the same. I'm not different than he is. So in the very core of the side of the bria, Chazal give us a picture at Chazal and Psukim that there's a tug of war between what's the tachlis of the bria, the perfection or the struggle. And the malachim are the kat of perfection. Adam is the kat of struggle. The havamin is obviously perfection. And the answer is no. The bria was built on toyu, on voyu, on choshech, on things that were broken and collapsed, didn't work out, and averis. We just started bereishis, and Adam and Cain and Lemach and Dor Enosh. In one parsha, we've sunk into Ritzicha, Gilaraish, V'chazdam, you name it. We start bereishis in pristine purity, and we end it, everything gone. That somehow seems to be the bedrock of the bria, because the tachlis of the bria is to take all those pieces and somewhere bring them back again. And we start with ourselves. A person, the struggle of the halakim in himself, that are the difficult struggles, that's where the accomplishment is. And even if in the absolute sense, it's less than perfect accomplishment, but it's real accomplishment. The halakim that are very good, there's always, with people, there's always some yitzhar, but that chelik doesn't really affect it as much. The malachim claimed shultan for themselves, that they would be the shultanai, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Adam is the only koyach in the bria that we can call it shultan. Adam has in himself of the bria. Adam's accomplishments are real accomplishments because it's a choice between two things. It's not automatic. And Adam is a mashpia. Adam can name everything in the bria, can put a stamp on everything in the bria because he has that tarevis of dbisra together with the toiv in the Adam. What?